I think there's a common misconception that if you don't become a lawyer with your law degree, you've wasted it, but it's very much not the case. There's so many different avenues that you can go down, and you don't have to be restricted to becoming a lawyer.
I mean, over the years, when I've taught students, I'm thinking back to pathways, career pathways that students that I can remember have taken, that have kind of used their legal knowledge in one way or the other. I mean, some have, I guess, sort of drawing on what we've been talking about with regard to, those transferable skills that law helps develop. Certainly the communication skills, precision in use of language, that sort of thing, being able to make sense of large volumes of information, then communicate it clearly to different audiences. So things like journalism, for example, working in, human resource management. So you're kind of working with people in a different way you might work with clients in legal practice, but you're still very often dealing with rules and regulations. It might be within a particular area of law, like employment law. In the past, I can recall students who've expressed an interest and then sought to work in areas of policy reform, or work around law reform, the sort of work that the Law Commission or think tanks would do. And that, I think, highlights the relevance of law to related disciplines as well, like politics especially. Students have gone into sort of management work in the private and public sector as well. And some have found, I'm going back again to a point I think we were talking about, which is like finding something that really sparks your interest. They've found an area within the undergraduate curriculum, think, I really want to take that further. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So they've gone off to do a master's and a PhD. So some of the students now, I've been teaching long enough to see some students who've gone on to become lecturers themselves. Of course, within law, you've got those routes that you were talking about as well, whether that might be within a specific area like criminal law or family law.
I think it's important to say, though, that a lot of the friends and colleagues that I had when I was here did go on to become lawyers. So, you're fed this line when you're a young student that becoming a lawyer is really, really difficult, and it's not without its challenges. But if you want to go on and do that, this university gives you the skills that you need to do it. A lot of my friends are now lawyers, but I also had a friend who's now an MP, someone who works in finance. I don't know anyone who, was limited by their experience here. So I think that's important to say.
Yeah, I think law opens so many more doors than it could ever close.
Yeah.
As a subject to study at university.
I wish I kind of knew more of this advice though when I was probably in my younger years, because I think it's like you said, you are kind of fed not a lie, sometimes like a myth as well that surrounds like the subject of law. And if I'm honest, when I was like 17, even during my first years of university, I kind of thought the only routes you ever have is barrister or solicitor, or even if you wanted to go into like paralegaling, that always has to then lead on to wanting to do more. And I think I don't regret the route I've taken, but I would have liked to know all the different kind of pathways and options that there possibly are. And I speak to people now that I've since graduated with, and some of them are like, yeah, I'm a paralegal, but I don't have any other plans. I enjoy what I'm doing. You don't need to constantly strive to aim for barrister and solicitor. Maybe biased because I am wanting to be a solicitor, but I don't know if you've had the same when you kind of come out of college or sixth form and you're going in, you do maybe from parents or teachers or other people who maybe aren't as informed as the lecturers and the people at the university, just that kind of mindset that if you go to law, you need to be a barrister or a solicitor.
Yeah, prior to coming onto the university, that's the only route I thought that you could take when studying law. But like now going into my second year, I know that there's more opportunities, and what Phil said, it actually does open more doors rather than closes it. For example, like if you don't want to take the traditional route and become a lawyer or solicitor, there's other doors such as working in the probation service, for example. So it doesn't necessarily close the doors. In fact, it opens more. So, yeah.
I think there's a common misconception that if you don't become a lawyer with your law degree, you've wasted it, but it's very much not the case. I think and as well, people sort of look at law as one of those subjects as if they're not eligible to study that because they don't come from a history of a lawyer family, or they don't come from a wealthy family or an aristocratic. But that's completely not the case anymore. May have been in the years gone by, but I think everybody from all different backgrounds brings a different skill to law, whether that be in a legal practice or in a completely different job. I think we all bring something unique to it. So people shouldn't be discouraged from studying a law degree, because it's important that you back yourself and do it. Don't feel that you can't do it. But also study it with an open mind, because like I said, there's so many different avenues that you can go down, and you don't have to be restricted to becoming a lawyer.